Welcome back to the SC Halfback Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Namowski. Welcome to another off-season pod. Today, we're starting our series, making some teams to put into the team picker to give you a bit of a variety of who are the players we want to talk about. So, the key to this series is we want to try and talk about different types of players. So, as we kind of build these different squads, each squad will have a bit of a theme and we can have a little bit of a discussion. So, I'm going to cap these at 10 minutes per pod. So, we'll put the shot clock on now. This first one here is all about what is the optimum number for your salary cap. So the salary cap this year, 11,650,000. If you divide that by the 25 players you require, 4,666 is that number. So no players over 466,000. So let's get right into it. Let's get into the hookers. Our starting hooker will come from the Gold Coast Titans, and we'll be selecting Sam Verrills. Now, Verrills will be in for a good season this year. Hopefully, he can stay injury free. There will be potentially some minute sharing with Chris Randall, but I think Verrills will have an in to be the main guy there this season. Easy number two when you go to Jaden Brayley of the Knights at 330k. Very underpriced. Even if there is a minute share with Phoenix Crossland at hooker, I still suspect Brayley will do well, get that 42, 45 point score average, and you should be able to make some coin there to get up to your next fall and gun. Let's get into the props. Now, this guy here, as I started doing my research, was actually one of the fun guys I want to talk about here. Jai Arrow, 2RF front row forward dual, 466k on the dot. I think he will have a big season. He's going to be, either playing on the edge or he'll be kind of going off the middle and playing through the middle off the bench. I just think he's in for a big season. 466k, averaged at 45 and a half last year. He only played 14 games. I think, especially late in a draft, you get a good steal. But he's one of those guys we're going to talk about in this series where a bridge to the next guy. I think Jai Arrow could potentially be one of those guys for you. And then the next guy we're going to bring in is from the Newcastle Knights, one of my favorites from this offseason, Leo Thompson at 458k. I just think that he's in a position this season where the lead dog of that pack, he will do really well at the Newcastle Knights. Got all the assets you need to be a prop in today's game. I think he'll have a really good season. On the bench, Terrell May from the Roosters at 430k and Francis Molo from the Dragons at 452k. Two guys I think that can average around that 45 mark this season and be some really good value at a price that's not going to break the bank. And again, potentially could be a stepping stone. I really do like Francis Molo in a lot of draft leagues. He's someone I'm throwing out there as can easily be your front row forward too. That you can get in the last pick of the draft. I think it's a very nice play. All right. In the second row forward now, the guy I'm hearing a lot of people touting is Viliama Kikau at 468k does not meet this criteria. So we'll stay with the Bulldogs and go with Josh Curran at 421k. Starting lock, you would assume, hopefully gets close to 80 minutes. I think that's an absolute steal. You're getting at least a 15-point drop there in value. Another guy with a 15-point drop is Sean Lane at 446k. This is a 60 averaging 2RF, so you should be able to get a very nice price there, and I think he should be in everyone's team to start the season. And then going to the Sydney Roosters, Josh Wong at 462k. Someone, if he can get the start and get bulk minutes there, I really, really do like that. I've just got to see how that 2RF shake-up happens with Crichton, Tupanua, the Butcher Boys. There's a lot of mouths to feed. I think Josh Wong showed last year he can stay. Going to the bench, let's go to Brendan Piakura of the Brisbane Broncos at 426k. Someone now with Kurt Capewell departing, I think should have a big bulk minute play here. And if he does get 65 to 70 on an edge, can be a very intriguing player this year. Josh Schuster of the Manly Seagulls at 460k. Someone who I just think that there will be too much value. And if he is starting on that edge, and that is the dominant edge for Manly with Brooks, Turbo at the back, Yarrick on the other side, could be a lot of points there. And then one more dual position. Let's go to Jason Tomalolo of the North Queensland Cowboys. Obviously, with Jason, you've got two front row forward flexibility, 439k. Definitely want to drop past that. It's about how much money can he make for you. It'll be a bridge to someone else. So I think there will be a bit of value in Tomalolo. A lot of people's fans' favorites that he will have some run in the Supercoach season this year. Let's go into the halves. Halves, 5'8" and halfback was pretty tricky, but we are going to start with the Dolphins. Sean O'Sullivan at 461k. Coming off an injury-affected season, I think that Dolphins team will improve. Hopefully, there'll be some more attacking stats for him. Then we go on to Braden Trindle of the Sharks. Yes, he's playing next to the vacuum that is Nico Hines in terms of Supercoach points, but at a 43 average, All he needs to do is come in there. The games where if Nico misses any, he'll goal kick as well. So there is some value, and that dual position does give a bit of flexibility where you can move him around. Into the 5/8s. So starting 5/8 here, all predicated on can he get minutes in a starting spot. Let's go to Jaden Campbell of the Gold Coast Titans, a 5/8 fullback dual. If he does start a fullback, he's an absolute no-brainer in a lot of people's teams. But if he's going to play 14, let that cash drop a little bit, and then you'll be able to jump in there and get a bit of a steal once he does get some minutes, if there is an injury to anyone in that back line. And then the other Jaden Sullivan, a halfback 5/8 from the Tigers at 391K. I think can do a really good job trying to solidify himself next to Jerome Luai for 2025. And we've seen at the Dragons where he does get a bit of an extended run, he can put some good scores together. So I am excited to see what he can do in this team. Let's go into the CTWs. So we're first going to go to the Penrith Panthers and get Taylor May. Now, a theme across these different podcasts will be you like different players in different teams. You want to buy into some of these back lines, but you can't afford it. Obviously, the Panthers, you would want To'o and Tungo. If they're not out of reach for you, I think Taylor maybe does get that starting centre spot is a good option for you there. We then go to the Brisbane Broncos. Similar thing here with Jesse Arthurs, 376K. Yes, obviously you will want Cobbo, maybe even Stags, but I think Jesse Arthurs at a 37 average is very low. And if that bit of a sweep happens on either side with Mam on one side and Reynolds on the other side with Walsh out the back, Jesse Arthurs could get some bulk points here to start the season. We're going to stay with this theme. Go to Marcelo Montoya of the New Zealand Warriors. Again, you obviously want to get Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, you want Dallin Martinez-Lesniak. If you can't afford it, Marcelo Montoya at a 44 average is your way into that team to at least try and get some of those points and get some stacks in there. And then the last guy, this one's a bit of a punt. I just think he's going to be in for a big year. Junior Tupu of the Tigers at 446K. Obviously signed with the Dolphins, but to me, someone who you just can see some very, very big Supercoach scores. And he is your fourth CTW, especially in a draft league. I think it's a great steal there. Some guys off the bench, once again, all about can we get some value. Joe Fafita at 391K, getting to that Titans backline if he does get that center spot. Very, very appealing. Sean Russell of the Parramatta Eels at 441K. Obviously, Penasini and Sevo on the other edge. Simonson on his edge is a little bit overpriced. So Sean Russell at 441K, someone you can buy into that backline, get a bit of movement off. And then lastly, Remus Smith of the Melbourne Storm. If he does hold that spot, 396K is a very nice play for a Melbourne outside back, especially if he does go to that edge on the right-hand side. I'm just picturing you've got Jerome Hughes, Eli Katoa, Remus Smith into a Warbrick. So that is what my hope would be there. You can get into that right edge for the Storm. And let's round it out with a couple of Raiders. So the first one here is Xavier Savage, fullback CTW dual, 350K. Someone who we've seen a very Supercoach friendly game, and if he can get an extended run, will be very, very nice there. And then lastly, the guy who filled in for the Raiders at fullback last year, Sebastian Chris at 465K. Full CTW, fullback dual. Someone who I think plays his best football in the centres. Filled in very nicely at fullback, but similar to how we spoke about Matt Timokor last year and a bit of a rise, that can be Sebastian Chris this year. So let's run through this team once again before we wrap this up. So at hooker, Sam Verrills, Jayden Brailey, Jai Arrow, Leo Thompson in the front row with May and Molo on the bench. Curran, Lane and Wong starting in the 2RF with Piakura, Schuster and Tom Malolo. O'Sullivan and Trundle in the halves. Jaden Campbell, Jaden Sullivan in the 5/8 slot. In the centres, Taylor May, Jesse Arthurs, Marcelo Montoya, Junior Tupu, with Fafita, Russell, and Remus on the bench, with Savage and Chris in the fullback slot. Now, if you do all those players, 873K in the bank. Now, this is just going to give you an idea of when you're out your team, that 466 number is a very critical number where that's just the average to fill out your roster. So if you can find any of these guys under that price, you're going to be able to get save you some bang for your buck. So there's a few players I like in here. Some of the guys I just want to mention, obviously, you know my Sean Lane, Josh Curran. Jai Arrow is one that really sticks out to me at 466K. And then going into the CTWs, Jesse Arthur's at 376K are probably my favorites out of this lot. We'll be back with another podcast doing another topic very shortly. And as we start to talk about more and more of these players, you'll get a bit of a sense. Who do you like? Who do you not like? and who you want to write in your book just to make sure you've got that name in case you do forget it. But get to the socials at the SC Halfback. We will be posting this team up as well as all the other ones we're doing through this off season. So thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day and hear from you soon. Cheers.